Hello. It's I'm not even sure what time it is actually. I should really check that out. I think it's about 8:30, 9ish, and I've just had one of these. So I was thinking all evening, what am I going to do? I'd like to do a live. I'd like to do a post. I'd like to just chat. And I just had one of those bedtimes. When your kids become philosophers when they're trying to avoid going to sleep. That's exactly what we had today. And we just had this really interesting conversation. So we have this new development lately that is, I think it's interesting to share. It was my realization that for us, it's not a new realization, but it's new to me, that for us to move forward in our relationship with our spouse as well, but our children, we have to create an environment where they can tell us that we have hurt them. Which isn't very fun, but it is very healing, very constructive. It's how we move forward. And our big bear, she's 6 now, she has gone to bed. She's always had massive FOMO, fear of missing out, and she's always just hated going to bed. And when she is asleep, she's blessedly the only one of our 3 who is just, she's down. 12 hours later, she's back up. So hallelujah, it's wonderful that at least we have that. And tonight she actually said sometimes, because she got a bit stroppy, and because we live in a small apartment, when one of them is being really loud, we talk them through it, and if they're being like super duper loud, we go out. So we there's 4 towers, and then there's gardens in the middle. There's gardens in the pool and the palm trees, and it doesn't really sound real, but this is where we live. And so we take them outside, a bit of like a reset. We just say, do you know what, let's just get out of this environment, and off we go. And of course that only works when there's 2 parents and one can stay at home with the other 2. And so she came back up. By the time she come up, the middle one had gone to sleep, and I went in to read a story. And after the story, she said, one of the reasons why I really don't like going to bed, and I was like, oh God, this is gonna hurt. It's because I don't really get time to spend with just you. I was like, oh no. Although, it's good because she can tell me this. And then we talked about, I know that, there's 3 children and mummy, and we normally we do all of these things, but of course right now we're not. And we try and find some special time together, and we do, we'll do like her maths focus or her literacy focus, or we did music lesson today. But of course, the boys are there all the time, they're in and out. And we do try and find dates. We do dates at the weekend with each child, so it's 6 hours altogether, John and 1, 2, 3 at different times, and me and 1, 2, 3. And basically it takes a day of the weekend, cleverly organised. So we talked about that, and then she did that thing, where you start going all kind of, I don't know if anybody else's kids do this, where they just like waffle at bedtime, and she said, the thing is that I love you and I love Daddy. And I love you both. I love you both equally the much, but I don't know how to say that in percent. She's a mathematician, like her mum. She's like, I don't know how to say that in percent because it's just more than percent, And I said, it really, really is. It is. I said, I don't think you can measure it in, percent or amounts or degrees. It's not, love isn't something that is measured like that. And I've always said something which kind of sounds silly, but I stand by it. And I always say, I love you all of the much. And I love you and you and you all of the much, so they all know that we love all of them equally. And it is all of the love. It's not anyone who's got more than one child, you worry when you're waiting the arrival of the 2nd or the 3rd. You worry like, how am I going to have enough love for more than one? And then, of course you have one and you're like, oh, no, my heart just got bigger. Just did. Just the unbelievable happened. And we moved on there to talking about, she said, she's incredible for 6. She said, I think that we are, she was a bit sleep drunk, but I think that we are, when we start off, we like our mummy and our daddy because that's what we know. Like how you don't like spicy food and I don't like spicy foods. So we've been talking about the placenta today and crossing over food and things, biology. And you know, so I like the things that you like, but then as I get older, I like my own things. And we, you know, we're in Vietnam, there's building sites everywhere, literally everywhere. We live, if you look out of our living room window, there is a Buddhist temple and a building site next to each other. It's just brilliant. It's the most perfect image of Vietnam ever. Behind me, the big white thing, that's landmark 81, ever present. It doesn't give any justice on the phone to how huge it is. But I said, it's like, you know, outside your window, you know, they have the building site, and you can't just put bricks on a building site. Because, you know, what if there's a big flood? Because, you know, we have rainy season here 6 months of the year, you know. What if there's a big flood? It'll just wash all the bricks away. Or, you know, you get to a certain height and then the wind blows and then your whole building topples. So you have to build a thing called a foundation. And she was like, what is a foundation with love? I don't understand. Love how she does that. And I was saying that, you know, it's like how mummy and daddy are like your foundation as a person, and our family and our wider family and all of our friends and all of our people, but especially your mummy and your daddy and your brothers and things, we are the foundation for each other. And then we, you know, we grow up. And then as your foundation is solid, you can become, you know, your own building, and you grow in whatever direction you like. You paint it whatever colour you like, or, you know, you go as tall, or you can go wide, or whatever, you know, balconies. You choose, because the foundation supports you, and then you grow from there. And I was like, you know, very spoken myself, look at me, I'm so wise. And then she went, but sometimes when we fight, that foundation does get a bit lumpy, doesn't it? And I was like, it does. What do you mean? And she said, well, you know, we have this foundation of love, and yet we love each other even when we fight. And I'm so glad that she knows that, because, you know, of course we do fight, and the boys fight, and she fights with them, and we fight with each other. Not that we fight all the time, but it's inevitable. I guess that's the point. It is inevitable. And she was saying, you know, I have to give a bit more context here. Like, we are obsessed with big machines as well. So we're obsessed, like, all the, you know, people carriers and cement mixers and like drilling machines. We've got books on them all. It's just, that's what we do. And she was like, you know, with the cement mixer, if you have a fight, that's like getting a lump in the foundation when you pour it out. And we sat and we thought about it for a bit, because I was kind of in shock. And we came to the conclusion, we're saying, well, maybe that is the point of us as a team. You know, mummy and daddy aren't your foundation, we build the foundation together. So when there is a lump, we need to say, this is our foundation and it has a lump in it right now because we have a problem. And then we work together to smooth it out. And she was like, well, is it ever going to be completely smooth? And I said, well, what do you think? And she said, I don't think anything is ever perfect. Oh, thank goodness, because it's not. And so we kind of worked together to come to this conclusion of, no, it's not perfect, and yet even when it sets, even when the cement sets, you know, there's going to be little bumps and things, but is it going to be good enough for your house to grow? Yeah, maybe you might need to go back. I mean, I teach reparenting, which is a non-disrespectful, so people worry about reparenting because they're like, oh, is that disrespectful to my mum and dad? And actually it's not, and you don't need to tell them. What it is acknowledging that, you know, when I was a child, some of my needs weren't met, and I've carried this with me for my whole life. Like, I always talk about being the baby of 5, and I wasn't heard, and it wasn't because anyone was a bad person. It was just because there were 5 of us, and dogs and cats and sheep and all kinds of stuff. And it's not disrespectful to say, okay, I didn't feel heard as a kid and I carried that with me, and then to go and heal yourself, which is again what, you know, what I teach. And so, you know, trying to get that idea in with her of like, yeah, you know, your foundation is going to be lumpy, And if there are any kind of big divots, you know, you can actually go in and you can heal them yourself when you're older. I mean, I didn't talk about that with her, but this is my extrapolation. And yeah, you know, your foundation's not going to be perfect. Is it strong enough? Is it made with love? I'm now not in the building site. You know, is it a strong enough basis for you to grow from, knowing that you were loved and you were secure as a young person, in your formative years? Well, that's what we're doing right now. So I guess, you know, I mean, some people have just joined. Hey Charlie, oh, so cool. I guess the point is that, one, our kids are way more wise than we think, and two, get them at bedtime when they are mini philosophers, because they'll blow your socks off. You might get Batman stories, you might get philosophy. And three, think of what we are doing now. I mean, we the parents, I'm talking to the parents of young people, and you know, even if they are teens, it's still foundation building. Until they go out in the world, we are still helping build their foundation. And think of it as this, it's their foundation from which they grow. So our job is to help them to grow into their own authentic psychological selves. This is what we want for them. We want them to be able to, you know, apply for a job. We want them to be able to navigate their relationships, and they need to be able to, you know, when they're 18, 19, 20 and beyond, they need to be able to do these things. And our job is not to control all of the outcomes for them, however much we may want to do that. And you know, mine are at the age where they're falling out with their friends now and getting back together, and I find it really hard to follow my own advice. So I'm not saying it's easy. Simple rarely is, as I'm finding. But we are providing the foundation of love, and the foundation is going to have lumps in it, and the lumps are, you know, the fights or the worries, or you know, if somebody has an illness or I mean COVID, like massive. There are going to be bumps, and some of them are going to be from within our family, how we relate to each other. Some of them are going to be external, and our job, as my 6-year-old told me tonight, is to work together to smooth it out as best we can. Not to be perfect, not to be what anybody else imagines, but to respond to where we live, how we live, and make it as safe and secure and as not bumpy as we can, but to accept that the bumps will be there, and that we co-create. I'm laughing because I say that all the time. We co-create our lives with our families. So we're the leaders, because we're the grown-ups, of course we're the leaders. We are the leaders, hi Lou, and we are the instigators of change. We are the people who tell our children about this foundation analogy, and we are the people who say, oh, I see a lump here, because you know, we always fight about this same thing, or I always laugh about, like, my thing is always getting out the door. You know, that's our big lump. How can we work together to smooth it? We co-create this life that we want with our children. And what happens? They come to you when they have problems, and they say things like, okay, my foundation's feeling a bit lumpy, can I talk to you? Or they will tell you, I don't really feel like you spent enough time with me this week, Mummy, and it's made me feel a bit sad. And we have to. This is why the other work that I do in making us as adults secure in ourselves is so important, because we have to be in a place where we're not feeling, of course that hurts, by the way, but we have to be in a place where that doesn't feel like, oh, dagger to the heart, oh, rejection, where we can go, oh, tell me more. How can we work together to, you know, to change this? And we can, you know, see it as what it is. It's a cry for all of our children's behaviour is a cry for help from us, or, you know, it's something's wrong and I need you to know, because we're their safe space. So enjoy that. Let that, I guess, let that sink in, that we're the foundation. Foundations are going to be lumpy, and our job is to create, as the leaders in our family, is to create an environment where we acknowledge and accept, yes, there will be bumps. In fact, we honour the bumps and we involve our children in smoothing them over together and moving forwards. I hope that helps, and I hope it's as inspiring to you as it was for me. Bye bye, see you soon.